Diaz versus McGregor 3, Diaz versus Ferguson, Diaz versus Poirier, Diaz versus Chandler. Nah, you're getting Nate Diaz versus Khamzat Chimaev. I'll take it. Not exactly what you were looking for, but I will take it. And I love a good underdog story. Welcome back to Hey Job Picks. I'm your host, founder, editor, and producer Hayden Iverson. I'm going to be going over the UFC 279 card in this video. But before we do that, make sure you go check us out on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter at Hey Job Picks. Leave a follow, leave a like. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down there. And we'll get right into it because we've got a full card to go through right now and a couple spots that could be profitable. But as of right now, I don't have too many bets out there. Mostly just been watching a lot of film and diving in deep to a lot of these fighters. Maybe a little too deep. The run over the past few weeks, or past few events, I guess, has not been the greatest as far as a betting perspective. The picks, not terrible, but from the betting perspective, not very good. So maybe I don't need to read into it that much, but I am, because I feel like the more preparation you do, the better prepared you are, and the more you can live with your picks. So I've been doing a lot of research, and hopefully can get that to you. We will start with the main event, though. Khamzat Chimaev, 28 years old, taking on the 37-year-old Nate Diaz. Chimaev, a minus 1,100 favorite. Diaz comes back at plus 700. Chimaev, 6 feet 2 inches tall, 75-inch reach. Turned pro in 2018, and he is 11-0. As far as Nate Diaz, he only has 3 fights in the past 6 years. So in 6 years, Nate Diaz has 3 fights. And since 2018, so 4 years, Chimaev has 11. So much more active. Diaz is obviously much older, so take that as you will. Chimaev coming off the decision win over Gilbert Burns. Very big favorite in that one as well. I believe he was like minus 550. A lot of people were high on Burns as the dog there, as they should be. The fight turned out to be much closer than the odds intended. Chimaev really didn't fight very smart in that one. I think he got a little excited. The dude is extremely strong, extremely big for the weight class as well. Very aggressive, very confident. And in that one, he kind of got into a brawl, a fist fight when he didn't need to. But, a lot of that could be credited to Gilbert Burns as well, one of the best in the division, and gave him an absolute run for his money in that one. Had it gone 5 rounds, could have been a different outcome there. Khamzat did win by unanimous decision. But the other 10 fights in his career pretty much lasted less than 1 round, and Khamzat just destroyed all of them. So Gilbert Burns gave him a run for his money and made him look human. Khamzat, 6 KOs and 4 submission wins. Never been defeated. Obviously never been finished then. As for Diaz, 2-3 in his last 5. As I said, 3 fights in his past 6 years, so it hasn't been that active. His last fight was last summer against Leon Edwards. The dude's game, though. Everyone knows that. His record is 20-13, so he's obviously gonna be fighting the best of the best. He's got losses on his record. He doesn't really care. 4 KO wins, 2 KO losses, 13 submission wins, and 1 submission loss. The unanimous decision loss to the now champion Leon Edwards recently. The loss to George Masvidal, the doctor stoppage there for the BMF, and then win over Anthony Pettis was his last win in 2019. Unanimous decision in that one. I know a lot of people are like, don't count out Nate Diaz, which is very true, and that is a reason why I took him at plus 5,500 odds for round 5 Nate Diaz sub. put 0.1 units on that just to sprinkle. Cause yeah, the dude's game, and he can pull something out for sure. I mean, he's been counted out multiple times in his career. He's come through against Conor McGregor, Michael Johnson. He was over a plus 300 underdog in those two fights, but this one he's at plus 700, and he's going against Khamzat Chimaev, who's never lost. Yeah, I mean, just the aura around Nate Diaz is so large that people are like, yeah, Nate Diaz could pull this off. In my mind, it's like these odds seem fair to me. Obviously, at Khamzat at minus 1100, it's just like not even worth it. It's not even, he could go out there and blow his knee out, or I don't know, do something, break his leg. That's pretty much why you just never trust a minus 1,000 favorite, something like that, because you never know. It's fighting. Something weird can happen. Nate Diaz could just go out there and tap out in the first round and just say fuck you to the UFC. But as far as legacy, I don't think he'll do that. But who knows? Nobody knows what's gonna go on. That's part of what makes this a pay-per-view main event, because you don't really know how it's going to go. Even though these odds are so wide and it's so one-sided, there's still so many people out there, including myself, that's like, who knows what's going to happen. But I'm going to take Chimaev for the sake of the channel, and as I said, I have that little flyer on Diaz round 5 sub. But this one is just tough to bet. I know Chimaev inside the distance, I believe, is like minus 400 or something. Minus 550 on the book that I mainly use. That's like not even worth it either. Khamzat by KO is minus 155, which could be playable, because I don't really see him submitting Nate, because Nate has really good BJJ, and also Nate takes a lot of damage, and he bloodies up really quick. He's got a lot of scar tissue, so maybe I could see with all the damage that Khamzat does to people. He put a pretty good beating on Gilbert. Gilbert put a good beating on Khamzat as well, but that kind of beating that he put on Gilbert for 3 rounds, I could easily see Nate being like so bloodied up, so like battered, that you get a doctor stoppage like they did against, or like he did against George Masvidal when they called it off in that one. So very possible. That's probably the only play I see is like Khamzat minus 155 for KO. I guess maybe if you want to get cute with it, go in like round 3 or 4, but I don't know. The props that I've been choosing lately, they're props. So if you're going to put down a plus 600 prop, like obviously your odds are not that great. That's why those are the odds. But we're going to keep moving because got a lot of fights in this card. But give me Chimaev for the sake of the channel. Next fight, Li Jingliang and Tony Ferguson. Jingliang, 34 years old, 6 feet tall, 71.5-inch reach, coming off the KO win over Muslim Salikov. Really pretty KO in that one. I had him as a dog in that, so I cashed that ticket for that reason. I feel pretty good about Li Jingliang. The Leech, his only losses in the past, 4 years, come to Neil Magny and Khamzat Chimaev, so can't be too mad about those. 11-5 in the UFC. Really good power, really good stand-up. He claims he has pretty decent wrestling as well, or good wrestling. Hasn't really tried to use it. He's more of a stand-up guy, wants to stand and strike with you. 10 KOs, never been knocked out. Dude does have a massive head. I don't know if you'd noticed, but the dude's got a big head. Can take some shots for sure. 4 submission wins and 2 submission losses. Sitting at minus 300. As for Tony Ferguson, 38 years old, 5 feet 11 inches tall, 76.5 inch reach. Going to be coming up to 170 in this one. He's been fighting at 155 for a while. Going to be moving up, so maybe that'll help his chin. He's coming off that brutal knockout to Michael Chandler less than 4 months ago. So you got to factor that in here. That was one of the most brutal knockouts that we've seen in the recent past, really in UFC history. That front kick to the face was nasty. I mean, he went down cold. Like, that was a bad look. He did look pretty good in the first round, though. I'll give him that. He's got 4 straight losses coming into this one. He's taken just an unruly amount of damage over those past 4 fights. I mean, Justin Gaethje probably took off like 5-6 years of his life in that one. As bad as that sounds. Ferguson, 12 KOs, been knocked out twice, 9 submission wins, and 1 submission loss. So most of his fights do not go to decision, although 2 of his last 4 have. Charles Oliveira, Beneil Dariush. The other 2 out of the 4 of his losses. So, I mean, he's fighting really good competition. You got to give him that. But at this point in his career, like, if he had been losing but not taking this amount of damage at this price, I would be more inclined to take a flyer on him. He's sitting at plus 240 right now. But the dude is just taking so much damage, and it's just not a good look. Not a good look at all. But he's like, in a sense, he's like Nate Diaz. Like, he's game. You never know what you're going to get from him. Could definitely pull off an upset here. I will be taking Li Jingliang for the sake of the channel. I know, I mean, at minus 300, I don't really find that playable if you can get better odds somewhere else. I know on Bet Openly, his odds are, I mean, all the odds on Bet Openly are better. Minus 275 on Bet Openly. It's a little bit better. But I don't know. I might throw him in a parlay. We'll talk about that later in, I guess, in the next fight. But give me Li Jingliang. No money on that fight as of right now. Moving on, Kevin Holland, Daniel Rodriguez. Kevin Holland, 29 years old, 6 feet 3 inches tall, 81-inch reach, 2-0 at welterweight. This fight, I believe, is going to be at 180, a catch weight of 180. So that's, I really love Kevin Holland at 170 because he's so big. D-Rod is 6 feet 1, 74-inch reach, so Holland's going to have a 7-inch reach advantage there. But at the 180 weight, who knows? As far as like thickness goes, how they're going to look. But Holland's got really powerful stand-up, pretty quick. Can be a bit wild at times. He's a pretty flashy fighter. Like, flashy as in aggressive, I would say. I mean, he's got good technique and everything, but he's an aggressive fighter. Black belt under Travis Lutter. He's got 11 KO wins, never been knocked out, 8 submission wins, and 2 submission losses. He's sitting at minus 210 right now. For D-Rod, 35 years old, as I say, 6 foot 1 inches tall, 74-inch reach, 3-0 in 2021, so had a really good 2021. 6-1 in the UFC. He's got a really strong left hand. His takedown defense can be a bit spotty. If Holland wants to take the path of least resistance here, he would probably try to take it to the ground. It's just a matter if Holland's wrestling can get it there. Once it's on the ground, I think he has a significant advantage, but it all comes down if he wants to take it to the ground and if he can. Because In D-Rod's fight with Kevin Lee, it was his takedown defense was like good at times and not good at times. He's never been finished though. D-Rod's never been finished. 8 KO wins, 4 submission wins. Could possibly see this one going to decision with just how durable D-Rod is. He does a pretty good defense on the ground. But Kevin Holland that's at by submission at plus 700 looks pretty juicy to me. This could easily be a stand and bang kind of fight. Maybe a club and sub for Kevin Holland, very possible. But the fight to go the distance is at plus 120. Not bad. Maybe getting some of my money. I'm going to take Kevin Holland for the sake of the channel. I do think he's just the better all-around fighter. He's made a lot of improvements since going on that 2-fight losing streak to Brunson and Vettori. I thought he was looking pretty good against Kyle Dawkins until that headbutt. And then the wins over Alex Oliveira and Tim Means, both finishes. So I think he's kind of on the rise. A lot of fans are liking him as well. Pretty likable guy. So is D-Rod, but I'm going to go with Kevin Holland. We'll keep moving, though. Irene Aldana and Macy Chiasson. Aldana, 34 years old, 5 feet 9 inches tall, 68.5-inch reach, coming off the knockout win over Yana Kunitskaya last summer. So she's been off for a little over a year now. It was a very, very nice KO, though. She's got really good boxing, really good counters. She fought a lot on her back foot in that fight, but really countered Kunitskaya well. Kunitskaya was trying to walk her down and pressure a lot. Aldana remained calm and got her with like a check, kind of like a check left hook that dropped her, and then started raining down punches when she was on the ground. Got the KO. So she got 7 KO wins. She's been knocked out twice and 3 submission wins. She wants to keep it on the feet, though. Chiasson, 31 years old, 5 feet 11 inches tall, 72-inch reach, coming off the split decision win over Norma Dumont, which was absolutely disgusting to watch. Dumont is also on this card, so I'll try not to go into it too much when I talk about her, but that fight was just disgusting. Like, Chiasson won that fight in the judges' eyes, I guess, but it's like nobody really won that fight, in my opinion. Chiason's got pretty decent boxing, but in the Dumont fight, she was just trying to get in the clinch. Chiason's pretty good in the clinch, but she was trying to stay in the clinch the entire fight and just hold Dumont up against the cage and like stall time, maybe throw a couple knees. Not really threatening a takedown, more so just holding her up against the cage and taking time off the clock, like controlling the fight. That's how she wanted to win the fight, and ultimately she did. But it was just terrible to watch. And I mean, yeah, it's hard to falter because yes, it won her the fight, but also it's like, 1, nobody wants to watch that. 2, you're not going to be around long if that's how you're going to fight. Chiasson has 3 KO wins, never been knocked out, 2 submission wins, 1 submission loss. Hasn't really fought that good of competition. Hasn't had that many wins against good competition. Dumont is her best win. And that was like, I wouldn't even call it a win, man. Like, that was just a rough one to fight. Or a rough one to watch. I'm going to take Aldana in this one. But this one has greasy decision, like, written all over it. Just women's MMA. These fighters are pretty similar. Just screams greasy decision to me. And I'm gonna take Aldana, but I don't really see it getting too much of my money. Aldana's at minus 180 right now. Chase on plus 155. So even if I wanted to bet on Aldana, I don't really love the price. And even if I wanted to just take the flyer on the women's MMA underdog, plus 155 doesn't really get my juices going there. Let's see what Hurd by decision would be. Jason by points plus 275. Doesn't really get my juices going either. So I probably won't be going in on that one. We'll keep moving though. Johnny Walker, Iwan Kutalaba. Walker, 30 years old, 6 feet 6 inches tall. It's pretty tall dude, 82-inch reach. The dude's built like, dude's an athlete. 1-4 in his last 5 though, coming off a brutal knockout to Jamal Hill, where he got the cold shocked, like the whole body went stiff and then fell back into the cage, and then Jamal hits him with another one to the face, and dude was down bad, I'll tell you that. He used to be like this exciting fighter, explosive guy, but often could be reckless, and seems as of late he's like just gotten not like boring, but like trying to be more calculated, but not really understanding that what made him exciting and what made him get traction was like how he fought. You know, he's he had that just awful decision loss to Thiago Santos where neither guy wanted to fight. That's kind of like what started it, but Kutalaba is like the same way. Walker's at plus 180 right now. Kutalaba minus 220. Kutalaba, 28 years old, 6 feet 1 inches tall, 75-inch reach. So Walker's gonna have a 7-inch reach advantage. Kutalaba 1-3-1 his last 5, coming off a pretty bad submission loss to Ryan Spann. Both of these guys are very similar in the fact that they have 1 win in their last 5 fights. They're both coming off of a pretty bad loss, like where they got finished. And both of them want to be aggressive, but are trending in the non-aggressive way. So with Kutalaba in his last fight, in most of his fights, he's very, very aggressive. He tries to get the fight to the ground, tries to push his wrestling, which he does exactly that in his fight against Ryan Spann. Gets takedowns, a couple of them. Spann continually pushes off the hips with his feet, gets back to his feet when he's on his back, and Kutalaba continually tries to shoot in, and it was like the third time this happened. Spann pushes off, gets Kutalaba off of him, gets back to his feet. Kutalaba tries to throw this like overhand right, completely whiffs, kind of like falls into Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann just snatches up a guillotine. Looked really awful for Kutalaba. So both of these guys are in the same position. They need a win. They're both really aggressive. And Walker hasn't been as aggressive in his past couple fights. Kutalaba has been, but he's been training with Eric Nixick at Extreme Couture, and they're trying to get him to be more calculated, trying to get him to not be as aggressive. So who knows when fight day comes out, like what Kutalaba you're going to get, what Johnny Walker you're going to get. So in my decision, this is a dog or pass situation. Johnny Walker has 15 KOs. He's been knocked out 4 times. 2 submission wins, 1 submission loss. Kutalaba, 12 KOs, been knocked out twice, both by Magomed Ankalaev. Can't be too mad about that one. 2 submission wins and 3 submission losses. So these guys have a big track record of being aggressive, but they're trending in the opposite direction. So for me, it's dog or pass here. I'm going to go with Johnny Walker for the sake of the channel. And I also have a half a unit on him to win by KO. Not at plus 325. So not a ton of investment in that one, but for the dog to get the finish, I will take it. I will take the shot on that one. So give me Walker for the sake of the channel. Bigger dude. I think he has more skills. Yeah, I don't know. Both guys need a win. Say that. Keep it moving, though. Kima Duwadu and Julian Erosa. Duwadu, 31 years old, 5 feet 8 inches tall, 73.5-inch reach. So he's got a pretty good long reach for how tall he is. This dude, really good kickboxer, throws a ton of kicks, low and high. Very fast all around. He's gone to decision a lot recently after starting his career with a lot of finishes. Part of the fact of that is he's fighting pretty solid competition. I mean, Truzano's decent. Evloev, undefeated. Evloev, very good. Lost there. Takugov, if that's how you say it, I'm not really sure. But Takugov's good as well. Julio Arce is pretty solid. So pretty decent competition there. Same with Julian Erosa, though. Erosa, 33 years old, 61 inches tall, 74.5-inch reach. Erosa's pretty big featherweight, but he's only going to have 1-inch reach advantage. Speaks to Duwadu's length. They're 4-1 in his second UFC stint here. His only loss coming to Songwo Chu. His fights are Sean Woodson, who looked awful in his last fight, but was undefeated when he fought him. Nate Landwehr, who looked really good in his last fight. Charles Jourdain, who looked awful in his last fight, but whatever. And Steven Peterson. So pretty decent competition there as well. Rosa, pretty flashy fighter, very opportunistic, especially with his submissions. He's aggressive, man. He needs to make this a wild fight, and that's usually what he does, usually what he tries to do. Duwadu is more of the technical kickboxer, wants to just stand and have a kickboxing match. He's got 7 KO wins and 1 submission loss. And for Erosa, 11 KO wins, been knocked out 6 times, but 12 submission wins and never been submitted. But Erosa's not really like a drag you down and wrestle you and build towards that submission. Like I said, he's more opportunistic with it. If Erosa can make this a wild fight, he has a really good shot here. But for that fact, I don't know that he does. Because he also does leave himself open, and I think Duwadu's very explosive and could get a finish here. I was looking at the odds earlier, and a play that I liked in this one was for the fight to not go the distance at plus 110, so pretty much even money there. I think with the way that Erosa fights and for the way that he has to fight in this one, like in his last fight for Erosa, he's going against Steven Peterson, who is not very good. He was a minus 310 favorite in that one, and he won by a split decision. So maybe fought a bit more conservative because he was, I know, a bigger favorite. He probably felt more confident in this one. But if you look at his last, the 4 fights before that, they all ended in a finish. And he was an underdog in all of those. And you always know Erosa is a live underdog. And as a dog, like, he comes out to scrap. He comes out to get a finish, for sure. So I'm leaning more towards the fight to not go the distance here at plus 110. I'm pretty sure I will get there. I just haven't completed the bet yet. And yeah, that is what it is. But for the sake of the channel, I'm going to take Duadu at, he's minus 220 right now. Rosa plus 180. I wouldn't bet Duadu at minus 220 at all with just how good Rosa has been as a dog and how wild he can be. But leaning more towards that fight doesn't go the distance. We will keep it moving, though. I'm talking a little bit too much here. Jilton Almeida and Elton Turkalj, I believe that's how you say it. Almeida, 31 years old, 6 feet 3 inches tall, 79-inch reach. Coming off the win over Parker Porter at heavyweight. This dude is like, this is a scary dude. A very dominant grappler. Can ground and pound you out. He's got 6 KO wins, 1 KO loss. But he's got 10 submission wins, never been submitted. Very, very dominant wrestler, very dominant on the ground. As for Turkalj, 26 years old, 6 feet 4 inches tall, 78-inch reach. Coming in on short notice. I got to note that. He fought on the week 1 of this season of Dana White Contender Series, won a unanimous decision, but I don't believe he got a contract that day. He's got a lot of fast finishes on his record. 5 KO wins, 2 submission wins. For that fact, like, Turkalj is sitting at plus 500, Almeida minus 700. Turkalj is like no slouch. Like, he's a pretty aggressive dude. So very, he could get a finish. You know, like Almeida's been finished before. As dominant as he has looked recently. I don't know that minus 700 is like very fitting in this one. Could he easily? I mean, if he gets a takedown, like if Almeida gets a takedown, pretty sure the fight's pretty much over. But if Turkalj is going to win this fight, it's going to be in the first minute of the fight. He's just going to have to catch him with something like right away, I would think, because Jilton Almeida is going to want to get it to the ground as soon as possible. But yeah, for Turkalj, 13-second spinning back fist KO, 1 minute and 15-second finish in the first round, another first round finish, another first round finish. He gets it done pretty fast. I will take Almeida for the sake of the channel, but at this price, could be some value on Turkalj. Just look at the finish prop real quick, because I don't think I've looked at that. Turkalj inside the distance is plus 800. It's not bad. Turkalj in round 1 is plus 2,000. You know, maybe he lands that spinning back fist again. That looks pretty juicy, ain't gonna lie. Could be a possibility. Might want to just sprinkle something on that. We'll keep it moving, though. Dennis Tululin and Jamie Pickett. Tululin, 34 years old. 6 feet 1 inches tall, 77-inch reach. Coming off the loss to Aliaskhab Krejciev. This dude, he's got a decent stand-up. He trains with Sean Strickland. The only question I saw in his last fight, other than getting submitted, but I mean it's Aliaskhab Krejciev. He's got really good ground game. The only thing is Tululin kind of gassed out in the second round. Like, he didn't look fresh. I wouldn't say gassed out, but he didn't look like he had a lot of energy, and ultimately did get dragged to the ground and submitted. He's got 8 KO wins, 1 KO loss, and he's been submitted 3 times. Luckily for Tululin, Jamie Pickett's not really the one to want to take it to the ground. 34 years old, 6 feet 2 inches tall, 80-inch reach. Coming off the loss to Kyle Dawkins, which he got submitted. It's got decent stand-up. This dude's like all legs and arms. 9 KO wins, 1 KO loss, and 3 submission losses for him. Tallulah sitting at plus 115, Pickett minus 135. I would lean, I think this one's dogger pass as well. Tallulah, I think they're pretty even on the feet. Tallulah maybe has the better competition. I don't know. Like, Tallulah's only fight in the UFC is the Elias Cobb one, which you can't be mad about him at all. Elias Cobb's undefeated. Jamie Pickett, however, has fought. Lost to Kyle Dawkins. Man, it's okay, I guess. His best win is against Joseph Holmes, which isn't saying much. Win over Laureano Staropoli, lost to Jordan Wright, lost to Tafon Chukwu. Like, he's 2-3 in the UFC. I don't know. I've never been a believer in Jamie Pickett. I mean, the dude's pretty built, and he's got great weapons. Dude's really long, but I just don't see it in him. I'm gonna take Tallulah for the sake of the channel. I may even put some money on him. Pickett's a guy that, like, I just don't believe in. But I got to figure out if Tallulah is a guy that I do believe in, because that's kind of a mistake I've been making. I think I've been making in my bets is I want to fade a person, but I'm not fading them with the right guy. So I'll probably do a little bit more research on Tallulah before I make that decision, but I'm eyeing it up. Moving on, though, Jake Collier and Chris Barnett. Collier, 33 years old, 6 feet 3 inches tall, 78.5-inch reach, coming off of the loss to Andrei Arlovsky, which I thought he won. I really don't know how he lost that decision, other than the judges giving the fight to Arlovsky based on the name. But he's got solid stand-up. 5 KO wins, 3 KO losses, 4 submission wins, 1 submission loss. Chris Barnett, 36 years old, 5 feet 9 inches tall, shortest heavyweight on the roster, 75-inch reach, short, as I said, but very powerful, very flashy, pretty athletic. 17 KO wins, 3 KO losses, and 1 submission loss. Collier is at minus 420 right now. Barnett plus 330. This one is like, this one's greasy, man. Middling heavyweights at this price, it's like, it's pretty much dog or pass. I'm going to take Collier for the sake of the channel. I won't go too far into this one because it's like kind of a puncher's chance one. Both guys are just like not very good. But it could be exciting. I don't know. Barnett's got that spinning wheel kick knockout, which was pretty nice, but I don't think he does it again. Could happen, but I'll take Collier for the sake of the channel, but we're going to keep this moving because it's getting a little long here. Moving on, Norma Dumont and Danielle Wolf. Dumont, 31 years old, 5 feet 7 inches tall, 67-inch reach, coming off the loss to Chason, which I talked about earlier. She needed to get her ass off the cage in that one, and when she wasn't getting pressed up against the cage, she looked pretty decent with her hands. Solid stand-up, 0 KO wins. Has been knocked out once, though, and 2 submission wins. So kind of a decision machine there. Danielle Wolf, 38 years old, 5 feet 11 inches tall, 70-inch reach. She's 1-0 in her MMA career. Her only fight was on Dana White Contender Series. But she is 27-14 in her pro boxing career. She's a 3-time USA Boxing National Champion. So she wants to keep it on the feet. So probably for Dumont, the path of least resistance here would be to take her down. Dumont sitting at minus 420 right now. LOL. Danielle Wolf sitting at plus 330. This is like the same thing. It's as the middling heavyweights. These are middling featherweights, which is as greasy as it gets, really. Like, featherweight's really not even a division in the UFC. They're kind of trying to make it be, but there's just not a lot of them out there. This one, it's like if you're gonna bet on it, it's pretty much dog or pass. But how much confidence do you have in Danielle Wolf? Who knows? She's had one MMA fight, so very greasy. This card in general for a pay-per-view is pretty bad. Like you have the main event, which is pretty much carrying the rest of the card. Like, yes, you have Tony Ferguson on there, but he's going against Li Jingliang, who's not really a household name to most people. So this is I would say it's pretty disappointing card. Best fight in my opinion in this card is the Holland and Rodriguez. Could easily be the fight of the night, but I'll take Dumont for the sake of the channel between these two, but probably not getting any of my money. Moving on, Chad and Hellinger and Alatang Haley. And Hellinger, 35 years old, 5 feet 6 inches tall, 64-inch reach, 10-fight win streak. Pretty solid stand-up. Dude's like super gritty. He got the contract on Dana White Contender Series at I believe he was 34 years old when that happened. He's brought in against Ewan Gafarov, who will eventually be in the UFC, I believe. He's pretty solid. He won a split decision there, but Hellinger was a pretty big dog in that one, I believe plus 350 or so. And at that point, it's you kind of have to give him a contract because he's just won against a pretty big favorite. So he gets the contract and then gets a fight against Jesse Strader, who's not very good. He was and Hellinger was a minus 240 favorite over him. Was probably going to get himself into a pretty greasy decision there. And then gets him with the counter left in the third round and gets the finish. So he's 1-0 in the UFC. 7-0 in the KO department, 3 submission wins and 5 submission losses. So all of his losses coming via submission. So I guess he learned how to grapple pretty late in his pro career. Alatang Haley, 30 years old, 5 feet 5 inches tall, 66-inch reach. Pretty solid ground game, but seems like he prefers to stand. He's pretty fast on the feet as well. He's been training a lot at Fight Ready, so he's training with really good people around him there. Henry Cejudo, Demetrius Johnson. A lot of people come through Fight Ready recently, as you've seen, since Cejudo's been there. He's been coaching a lot of people. One of those being Alatang Haley, and he seems like he's made some pretty good improvements. 5 KO wins, 3 KO losses, 3 submission wins, 1 submission loss. Sitting at minus 165 right now, and Hellinger plus 140. Initially, I wanted to take Ann Hellinger because he has that, the history is coming through as a dog, but, in that one, it's he won on a split decision, so it wasn't like he dominated. Could have gone either way. Probably just reading too much in that one. He's 35 years old, making his second UFC appearance. For Alatang Haley, a little bit younger. He's been in the gym around good people a lot. If you spend enough time at Fight Ready, you're gonna pick up a lot of good stuff. So I'm gonna take I'm gonna take Alatang Haley in this one. He may even be getting some of my money. I just haven't had a lot of time to really figure out where my money's going to go this week because I've been watching a lot of film, putting a lot of time into the content and stuff. So, but make sure I'll talk about it later, but I'll put all my stuff on Twitter as well. So usually the morning before the fights or the night before the fights of all my plays. We will keep moving, though. Melissa Martinez and Elise Reed. Martinez, 25 years old, 5 feet 2 inches tall, 64-inch reach. Her last MMA fight was in 2019, which she won the Combat Global Championship, I believe, the inaugural Combat Global Women's Strawweight Championship, and a split decision to Desiree Yanez. And I watched that fight. I don't know how the hell they scored it for Melissa Martinez. I thought she completely lost that fight. She has been off for damn near 3 years. But in that fight, she had terrible ground game, terrible takedown defense. She is a really, really good kickboxer, though. World champion in 2021 in the Waco, I believe, Waco world champion. Two-time Pan American champion, 6-time national champion. So decorated kickboxer, very good on the feet, but has shown that she struggles on the ground. 5 KO wins for her out of her 7 fights, so she's pretty powerful as well. As for Elise Reed, 29 years old, 5 feet 3 inches tall, 63-inch reach, pretty decent stand-up as well. Coming off the loss to Sam Hughes. Luckily for Melissa Martinez, Elise Reed is as bad on the ground. This girl cannot, or hasn't shown that she can grapple, can deal with anything on the ground. Her 2 losses are to Sajara Eubanks, which she got taken down in the first 10 seconds of the fight and never got up. Sam Hughes pretty much does the same thing to her, just wears on her and ultimately gets a round 3 TKO, elbow from the mount position. So this one is likely to be a stand-up battle, and I think Martinez is the much better. Martinez is much better on the feet than Elise Reed, so I think she has an advantage on the feet. I don't see this one going to the ground. Neither girl wants it to go to the ground. Martinez sitting at -165, Elise Reed +140. Initially, I was thinking this could be a greasy women's decision, which very well could be. And I wanted to take Elise Reed at plus money, but I mean, Martinez is she's good. She's good on the feet. She's fast. She's younger, more powerful. I think she wins this fight pretty easily. I think she's probably, more durable for sure than Elise Reed. So I'm going to take Martinez for the sake of the channel, and then I do have a bet on her by knockout at plus 350 for half a unit. So I only have 3 open bets right now, and that is one of them. Moving on, though, last fight. This will be the opener on the early prelims. Darian Weeks and Johan Lioness. Weeks, 28 years old, 5 feet 11 inches tall, 72-inch reach. 0-2 in the UFC. His loss to Brian Barberena and Ian Gary. Both are pretty good welterweights, so can't be too upset about that. Lioness, 30 years old, 6 feet 1 inches tall, 1 inch tall, 76-inch reach. This dude's got big power. His debut against Gabe Green, he cracks him with a right hand. Could likely have been stopped, but Gabe Green seemed to be like a cardio machine that day. Like, he just would not stop coming forward, and ultimately was too much for Lioness. And I don't know if it could be, if it's cardio or if it's just him being overwhelmed by Gabe Green, but ultimately it looked like he just had enough and he wanted to just shell up and be done. He's got 6 KO wins on his record. His only loss is to Gabe Green. Weeks, 4 KO wins and 1 submission win. Lioness showed some pretty decent things on the ground in that fight, but I think for Weeks, if he wants to win this fight, he probably needs to wrestle. Weeks is a pretty solid wrestler. I think that's his path to victory here. It's just a matter of fact that if he will. He hasn't really shown to be too aggressive in doing it, more so opportunistic. Like he'll stand with you and trade a little bit, and then if he thinks there's an opening, he'll take it. He's not really one to be too aggressive in it. So who knows on this one? This one's pretty much even. Weeks is at -125, Linus plus 105. I would be leaning towards a Lioness KO here, but Weeks seems pretty durable. And at plus 235 for Lioness, it doesn't really get the juices flowing too much. So that pretty much takes it off the table for me. But I could still see it happening. I'm gonna take Lioness for the sake of the channel, but I don't know if I'll be getting there from a betting perspective. But that is the full card. I'll go through the full card, my picks of the full card. So I got Chimaev, Jingliang, Holland, Aldana, Walker, Dawadu, Almeida, Tululin, Collier, Dumont, Alatang, Haley, Martinez, and Lioness. And then my only bets right now are Nate Diaz by round 5 sub at plus 5,500 for 0.1 units. Johnny Walker by KO plus 325 for half a unit. And Martinez by KO at plus 350 for half a unit. I'm definitely going to be looking to add to this. As I said, just haven't really gotten around to figuring out where I want to put my money this week. We also got first week of NFL. That's also part of the reason I had a fantasy football draft on Monday, and I got another one today. So been preparing for the NFL week 1 as well. Been pretty busy with that. So stay tuned. I'll be posting all of my UFC plays on Twitter at HeyJivePicks. And I'll also post it on the Instagram story as well at HeyJivePicks. Follow me on TikTok at HeyJivePicks. Leave a subscription, leave a like on YouTube here. Still working on the streaming. But just very excited to watch this one. Honestly, like I just enjoy watching these fights. As I was kind of shitting on the card earlier, but I'm still excited to see how these fights play out. Not big names, really not big names for a pay-per-view, at least for the prelims, and even on the May card, not that good. But the main event is carrying it for sure. So I'll take it though. I'll take it. It's a Saturday with fights. Can't be too upset about that. Thank you for watching. I know this went pretty long, 53 minutes. So if you made it through the whole thing, thank you very much. I really appreciate your view. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you got some decent information here. Did my best to give some solid info while keeping it somewhat entertaining. So thank you. I will be back with a recap video after, so probably Monday that'll come out. But until then, HeyJivePicks here, signing off. See you in the next one.